The timeline, the organs, and the paperwork that can't verify itself. KJ's Army truth seekers, listen closely. Because before we can talk about missing organs, missing fingernails, missing clothing, and the official cause of death, we have to talk about the one thing that holds every death investigation together: the timeline. Under oath, Dr. Marianne Gaffney Craft testified that Kendrick Johnson's body arrived at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation Medical Examiner facility on January 14, 2013 at 6:50 in the morning. She testified that the autopsy began at 9:40 a.m., and she testified that the body was released at 11 a.m. to Owens Transport Service to be returned to Harrington Funeral Home. Dr. Craft deposition. Those are sworn times. Those are the official times. And that timeline is central because once that autopsy starts, Kendrick's organs become evidence. His fingernails become evidence. His clothing becomes evidence. And the chain of custody is supposed to document where every piece of that evidence went and who had it and when. Now here's where the hard questions begin. Because we are not dealing with one issue. We are dealing with a stack of issues that all point to the same problem: verification. Under oath, Dr. Gaffney Craft addressed a letter attributed to Lowndes County Coroner Bill Watson. In that letter, it states that the viscera, the internal organs, were not sent back with the body for disposition, and that it was confirmed by Rodney Bryant, who was present at the autopsy, that the viscera were disposed of due to decomposition. Dr. Craft deposition. And when asked directly about that statement, Dr. Gaffney Craft testified that it was not accurate. She testified the organs were present, that she examined them, weighed them, and that the autopsy documentation, including photographs, shows organs were present. She testified that the organs were returned to the body, as autopsies are, unless documented otherwise. Dr. Craft deposition. She testified that disposal of organs due to decomposition did not make sense to her, and she testified that to the best of her knowledge, disposal did not take place at the crime lab. Dr. Craft deposition. So now the public is left staring at a collision. On one side, sworn testimony saying organs were present and returned. On the other side, a coroner letter stating the viscera were disposed of. And when two official accounts collide on something as serious as internal organs, that is not a minor contradiction. That is a credibility problem. If Dr. Gaffney Craft misled the public about the disposition of Kendrick Johnson's organs, why are we expected to believe her autopsy? Which makes no sense, by the way, because if the public can't get one consistent answer about the organs, then the public has every right to ask what else requires independent verification. Now let's go to the next layer, the transport layer, because Kendrick's body did not teleport from the GBI facility back to Valdosta. Someone transported him, someone had him, someone delivered him, and that transporter is Owens. But the Owens transport documentation does not give us what a chain of custody timeline needs: actual timestamps. Owens Transport's invoice includes fields where the times should be recorded: arrival time, return pickup time, wait time, and instead those fields are marked NC, meaning no charge, not a clock time. And because those time fields are not documented, the public cannot independently confirm the travel timeline to and from the GBI facility using the transporter's own paperwork. Now here's another point the public needs to understand, and Dr. Gaffney Craft said this under oath too. She testified she was not physically the person who released the body to Owens Transport. She testified she did not sign it over, and she did not put the body in his hands. She testified the release form is filled out at the exact time the body is released. Dr. Craft deposition. So now the question is simple and procedural. If the release is filled out at the exact time the body is released, why is the transporter's invoice missing, those same times that would independently corroborate that release? Now, let's add Harrington Funeral Home, because this is where the evidence becomes physical. In FBI interview documentation, Harrington reported that Kendrick's body was transported by Owens Removal Service. The reported arrival time was around 1 o'clock p.m. or 1:30 p.m. on January 15, 2013. The date is wrong and the time is wrong. Kendrick Johnson arrived on January 14, 2013 before 12 o'clock p.m. The Johnson family was at the funeral home at noon. He was there when they got there. The report describes the condition of Kendrick's body upon arrival as being in an advanced state of decomposition. According to the FBI interview account, the funeral home staff stated the body bag containing Kendrick Johnson was partially open, showing his face, and they noted the decomposition condition and odor. And the funeral home stated something even more critical. They told the FBI that after the body bag was opened, the cavity of Kendrick's body was open from the autopsy, and there were no internal organs with the body. They explained what their normal procedure is. They stated that about 90% of the time, bodies are received with internal organs in a black plastic bag, tied in a knot, marked with biohazard stickers. They stated that in Kendrick Johnson's case, they did not receive any internal organs, and they assumed the organs were kept as part of the investigation. They did not notify the family. Kendrick was a minor. They stated they also never received any clothing with Kendrick Johnson's body, and they stated that the body bag did have a plastic bag taped to it, but it contained a set of earbuds. Now the chain of custody issue becomes undeniable because Harrington told the FBI that normally, when an inventory sheet is provided, the funeral home signs for the items on the inventory. But if there is no inventory, no forms are signed. According to this FBI account, there was no inventory sheet provided with Kendrick's body, meaning there was nothing to sign. So put it together. Owens' transport invoice lacks the times. Harrington reports no inventory sheet to sign. Harrington reports no organs and no clothing. And yet, we are expected to accept a complete and clean chain of custody for organs, fingernails, and clothing, the very evidence that would help determine what truly happened. That is not how death investigations work. Now let's address the decomposition issue. Dr. Gaffney Kraft testified that she weighed Kendrick's lungs, 260 grams for the right lung and 240 grams for the left. She testified the lungs were already decomposed. She said, as tissues decompose, they become lighter, but didn't explain how and why decomposition was advanced in such a short period of time. Was his body in the cooler, or was it not? So here are the hard questions that must be asked, and they are not emotional. They are forensic. If organs were returned as sworn, why does the funeral home report receiving no internal organs? If viscera were disposed of, as the coroner letter states, where is the documentation of that disposal, and who authorized it, and when did it happen? Because this isn't a small discrepancy. This is the difference between a clean investigation and a compromised one. We require what the system requires: documentation, signatures, timestamps, inventory, because Kendrick Johnson was not a rumor. He was a child, and the evidence in his death deserved to be preserved, documented, and accounted for, down to the last organ, down to the last fingernail. So here is the question to every agency involved. Where is the verified chain of custody record that proves the exact timeline of Kendrick Johnson's body leaving the GBI facility? Because without that, the public is doing the job the paperwork failed to do. Where is the justice for Kendrick Johnson? It's time to unroll the truth and throw the entire autopsy away.